Hello! In this video, we explore Edinburgh during the 17th and 18th centuries. Through a series of historical images, we follow the streets, buildings and gathering places of this Scottish capital, discovering how people live, work and move through their daily routines in this ancient and remarkable city. Edinburgh Old Town rises dramatically from the volcanic ridge, stretching down from Castle Rock, creating one of the most distinctive urban silhouettes in all of Europe. The castle, perched high on its ancient volcanic plug, serves as both military stronghold and powerful symbol of Scottish sovereignty. Below its massive walls, the Old Town spreads along the narrow spine of rock, a dense cluster of tall stone tenements climbing 6, 7, even 10 stories high. People of all classes live stacked together in these towering lands as the buildings are known locally. Nobles occupy the middle floors, merchants above and below, and the poorest residents crowd into cramped cellars and upper garrets. The streets bustle with activity from dawn until dusk, filled with the calls of tradesmen, the clatter of hooves on cobblestones, and the constant movement of a population compressed into this remarkable vertical city. Old Town's educational and religious buildings form the intellectual and spiritual heart of the city. The University of Edinburgh, chartered in 1582, continues to draw scholars and students from across Scotland and beyond during this period. Young men study law, medicine, divinity and philosophy within its halls, preparing for careers in the church, the courts, or the growing professional classes. Parish schools and grammar schools operate nearby, teaching reading, writing, Latin and catechism to the sons of merchants and tradesmen. Churches and kirks scattered throughout the district ring their bells to mark the hours, calling the faithful to worship and punctuating the rhythm of daily life. Ministers preach long sermons in cold stone buildings while elders keep careful watch over the moral conduct of their congregations. High Street forms the central artery of Edinburgh's Old Town, running down the ridge from the castle gates toward the Palace of Holyrood House at its eastern end. This is where the city truly comes alive. Market stalls crowd against building fronts, selling everything from fresh fish and vegetables to cloth, leather goods and household wares. Craftsmen work in ground floor booths open to the street, hammering metal, stitching shoes, or measuring fabric for customers who pause to haggle over prices. Sedan chairs carried by Highland porters push through the crowds, bearing wealthy passengers above the mud and refuse that gathers in the gutters. Taverns and coffee houses line the route, providing spaces where men gather to discuss business, politics and the news of the day. The Lucken booths, locked wooden stalls built against St. Giles's Cathedral, create a covered marketplace where goldsmiths and booksellers display their more valuable goods. St. Giles's Cathedral stands at the very heart of Edinburgh's civic and religious life, its distinctive crown steeple rising above the surrounding rooftops as the Old Town's most recognizable landmark. Though it served briefly as an episcopal cathedral, for most of this period it functions as the High Kirk of Edinburgh, a Presbyterian place of worship at the centre of Scotland's Reformed Church. Sunday services pack the building with worshippers who sit on hard wooden benches, listening to sermons that may stretch for 2 hours or more. During the week, the church serves other purposes too. The city's courts of law operate in chambers attached to the building, and merchants often conduct business in the aisles and porches when bad weather drives them indoors from the market cross outside. The streets surrounding this great kirk form a dense network of wynds and closes that branch off from the main thoroughfare. These narrow passages plunge between tall tenements, some barely wide enough for 2 people to pass. Each close has its own character and community. Residents know their neighbours intimately in these tight quarters, sharing walls, stairways and common wells that provide water for drinking and washing. Tradesmen of particular crafts often cluster together, tanners in one close, candle makers in another, filling the air with the distinctive smells of their work. Women carry baskets to and from market, children run errands for their families, and servants empty chamber pots from upper windows with the traditional warning cry that echoes through the city each evening. Inside this sacred building, the rhythms of worship and civic life intertwine constantly. The interior, stripped of Catholic ornament during the Reformation, presents a stark Presbyterian aesthetic of whitewashed walls and plain glass windows. Numbered pews belong to specific families and pass down through generations, with prominent citizens occupying the best seats near the pulpit. The kirk session meets regularly in chambers within the building, a powerful body of elders who oversee not only church affairs but the moral behavior of the entire parish. They investigate cases of adultery, drunkenness, and Sabbath breaking, summoning offenders to appear and imposing penances that may include public confession before the congregation. The precincts around the cathedral serve as a gathering place where news and gossip travel quickly through the crowds. Seen from the high street, the cathedral's western facade rises directly from the busy thoroughfare, with no formal square or open space to separate sacred from secular. This proximity reflects the interweaving of religion and commerce that characterizes Edinburgh life. Hawkers cry their wares within steps of the church doors. The Mercat Cross, where royal proclamations are read and public punishments carried out, stands nearby in view of both worshippers and traders. Beggars cluster near the entrances, seeking alms from those whose minds turn briefly toward charity as they emerge from divine service. The constant flow of people past the cathedral doors, lawyers hurrying to court, housewives returning from market, apprentices running messages for their masters, keeps this space alive with movement from morning until the evening drums signal the closing of the city gates. And so, daily life continues in Edinburgh throughout these decades, a steady rhythm of work and worship, buying and selling, that fills the ancient streets and closes of the Old Town. The castle watches from above while the city below pulses with the ordinary business of living.